Hello, today we're going to talk about solving two-step inequalities, and here's the great news. If you can solve a two-step equation, then you can solve a two-step inequality. The process is almost exactly the same. There's just one thing that we have to keep in mind, and you're going to see I have it written here in red. If you multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip our inequality symbol as we're solving. So we're going to go through the process. You'll see I have written here in green that our goal is to isolate the variable. We're going to get rid of any addition or subtraction first, just like we would do if we were solving an equation. And then we're going to eliminate any multiplication or division to try to get that variable by itself. But we're going to keep in mind that while we're doing that multiplication or division, if I multiply or divide by a negative, we have to flip our symbol. So let's look at a couple examples here. So in my first problem here, I have 4y plus 5 is greater than 1. And my goal is to get this variable by itself. So I'm going to change colors here to green. So I'm going to first look and say, is there any addition or subtraction that I can get rid of? Well, I have this plus 5, so to get rid of it, I'm going to do minus 5 to both sides. When I do that, I'm left with 4y. The plus 5 minus 5 cancels out. I have my greater than symbol, and 1 minus 5 is negative 4. So that was the first step. I got rid of the addition or subtraction. Now I'm going to look to eliminate any multiplication or division. I have a 4 that's being multiplied by y. So to undo multiplication, I use division. So 4 divided by 4 makes 1. It just leaves me with y by itself. I'm going to keep my inequality symbol because I divided by a positive, and it's fine to divide by a positive. Negative 4 divided by positive 4 is negative 1. That's all there is to solving that inequality. So y would have to be greater than negative 1. So it could be 0, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be anything that's larger than negative 1. Let's go over here to this problem on the right. And again, we're looking at isolating our variable. So I'm going to try to look first and say, is there any addition or subtraction that I can get rid of? I have a minus 7. So to undo minus 7, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. That leaves me with negative 2x. My negative 7, positive 7 cancels out. I have my less than, and then 11 plus 7 is 18. So now I say, okay, well, let's get rid of any multiplication or division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2 because I have negative 2 being multiplied by x. Now here's where the magic happens. Because I'm dividing by a negative, my inequality symbol is going to change. Instead of being less than, now it becomes a greater than. 18 divided by negative 2 is negative 9. So that's an example of that very important step. Let's look at a couple of other examples. I'm going to scroll down here. Now I'm going to talk you through the steps even though they're not written on this part of the screen, but that's okay. We'll still do the same process. So we're going to isolate our variable. We're trying to get a by itself. We're going to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. So I have a minus 1. I'm going to make it a plus 1. So that's going to leave me with a divided by 9 is less than or equal to 2 plus 1, which is 3. Now, I have to look at any multiplication or division. A is being divided by 9, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 9. And what that will do is it'll get rid of that divided by 9. So I'm going to be left with a is less than or equal to 3 times 9, which is 27. And again, I multiplied by a positive, so my inequality symbol did not change. Over here on the right, my variable that I'm trying to isolate is c. I'm going to look for addition or subtraction first, so I'm going to have this minus 10. I'm going to do the opposite of that, which is plus 10. That leaves me with c divided by negative 2. Is greater than or equal to negative 7 plus 10 is going to give me 3. Now I see I have some division here. C is being divided by negative 2, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 2. That will cause my negative 2 to eliminate in the bottom, so I'll have c by itself. Now because I multiplied by a negative, I have to be careful. My inequality symbol has to change direction. So now it becomes a less than or equal to, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. All right, I have 2 more examples to look at. Let's look at these last 2. These are a little bit tricky because our variable is on the right side of the inequality. So I'm going to show you what to do to fix that. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve this inequality just like I did the other. So my goal is to isolate my variable. I'm going to start by getting rid of any addition or subtraction. So I have this plus 4. I'm going to do minus 4 to both sides. So 28 minus 4 is 24. That's going to be less than 2x. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get rid of the 2 that's being multiplied to x. And then I have 12 is less than x. If I want to switch places so that x is on the left, which is typically how we read inequalities, I'm going to switch both places, but then I also have to switch the sign. So my x is going to come over here. Instead of less than, it's going to become greater than, and then the 12 can go to the right side. So you can switch places as long as your inequality also changes direction. All right, let's look at this one. This one's going to involve a couple of extra steps here, but we can work through this. So I have this 38 minus d. So even though that minus sign is after the 38, we have to look at the sign that's in front of the 38. And that 38 is positive, so I'm going to do minus 38 to both sides. So I'm still getting rid of what's being added or subtracted with this variable, but since the 38 is positive, I have to do a minus 38. So let's see here, if I take 95 minus 38, that is going to give me, let's see, 7, so 57. So 57 is greater than or equal to negative d. Don't lose this negative right here. This minus sign has to stay with that variable d. So now I got to get rid of that negative sign. That's like a negative 1 being multiplied to d. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 to get rid of that symbol. So that makes negative 57. I'm divided by a negative, so my inequality symbol changes direction, and it becomes negative 57 is less than or equal to d. Now, we got d on the right, and we want to put d on the left, so we're going to switch sides. And when we do that, our inequality symbol is also going to switch. So it's going to be d is greater than or equal to negative 57.